social movement. And social movements sweep politicians out of their way. Think about it. The peace movement, the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the labor movement, none of them stood still for hack politicians. They talked about what they needed to talk about. They talked about moral issues, and they went after it strongly and firmly. And politicians damn well better run, because when the people's anger is unleashed on the right targets, which is the 1%, then we see social change.
Are you think the Republicans are more concerned about the protesters or the message that continually is getting the coverage?
Well, I think it's the message, because it's brilliant messaging, right? 99%. What are these politicians going to do? They're going to say we want 1% to elect us. We want the Koch brothers and we want Rupert Murdoch. That's our constituency. That's who we're representing. In fact, tomorrow in New York, there's going to be a march on Murdoch's home and the Koch brothers' home and others' homes, so that we begin to identify who are these 1%, who are the war profiteers and the people, the millionaires and the billionaires who are trying to control the rest of our country. And what we're seeing, Ed, really is pure, beautiful democracy at work.
Herman Cain slammed the protesters on Sunday. Here's what he had to say. Let's watch it.
It's anti-American because to protest Wall Street and the bankers is basically saying that you're anti-capitalism. The free market system and capitalism are two of the things that have allowed this nation and this economy to become the biggest in the world. Even though we have our challenges, I believe that the protests are more anti-capitalism and anti-free market than anything else.
Robert, what's your response to that soundbite?
Well, I think, look, the more slams there are, Ed, the better it is, because the more the social movement grows. Sticks and stones can hurt my bones, but, you know, I mean, all those childish kind of slanderings are an indication that this is really catching on. It's really getting people's attention. There's real concern and there's real fear, which means that the 99%ers are doing exactly the right thing and doing it in the right way.
Do you think the 99% could be more of a political force than what we saw the Tea Party? I mean, the Tea Party obviously had an influence on the midterms last November 2010, and we're a year away. And are these voters, I mean, are these people that are going to engage in the process? And do you think that this could be a greater political force than the Tea Party?
Well, I think what's important, again, is remember, this is a social movement. It's not about narrow partisan divisions. It's really about changing the way people of all political persuasions think about issues, work on issues, and talk about issues. And from that point of view, I think they've absolutely hit the sweet spot of our country, talking about the fact, why have so many people lost their homes, have no jobs, are spending $1 trillion on a war, when 1% of this country, 1%, Ed, has billions and millions of dollars, and their greed will never stop. The bankers' greed doesn't stop. Wall Street greed doesn't stop. We see today that Wall Street is expecting bigger bonuses than ever this year, while tens of thousands of people are losing their homes. That's a profound issue, and that's a social movement which exceeds, if you will, any kind of narrow political way of looking at it. And that's why some of these politicians are absolutely terrified, and they should be.
Robert Greenwald, always a pleasure. Good to have you with us tonight on The Ed Show. Thanks for your views. Let's turn now to Karen Lewis. She is the president of the Chicago Teachers Union, one of the groups, just one of the groups that participated in today's rally. Karen, let me ask you, why did your group take part in this rally today?
Well, we've been under attack for quite some time, but most vigorously here in the last 6 months. We have a new CEO, because, of course, we don't have superintendents in our school system. We have CEOs, which ought to tell you about what they're thinking about. And they came to us by saying, we're not going to fund your raise. We had a contractual raise for 4%. That was snatched. And then they said, oh, by the way, we want to lengthen your school day 90 minutes and 2 weeks. So we want you to work 30% more, but we don't want to pay you for it. And when the union said no, the leadership said no, because that's what our members told us, then they started a direct deal program and going to our members and saying, why don't you take this deal? Why don't you take this deal? So we filed an unfair labor practice. We did a bunch of things, but our members are absolutely irate about what's been going on lately.
And do you think what is happening here in Chicago is just a microcosm of what's going on around the country with public education?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're the home of Arnie Duncan. We're the home of mayoral control. A study just came out from the University of Chicago's Consortium on School Research. And one of the things they came out with was that we've had 20 years of school reform that has been a dismal failure and more PR spend than anything else. And along the way, teachers have been vilified. But it's not just in Chicago; it's a nationwide attack.
Well, where is your Mayor Rahm Emanuel?
It's a global attack.
Where is the former chief? Where is the former chief of staff of the Obama administration? Where's Rahm Emanuel on this? Is he anti-teacher?
Absolutely. He's been very clearly anti-teacher from the very beginning. He came in, he went to Springfield to try to take our collective bargaining rights away. He made it so that it would be 75%. It would take our union to strike. He was just like adamant about us not being able to strike. And then yesterday he goes on Meet the Press and said we're going to have performance pay. It's kind of hard to have performance pay when you haven't bothered to negotiate with the people doing the work. So, I mean, this mayor came into town.
I'm curious. How can you have performance pay in low-income neighborhoods that don't get the resources that other school districts get? I mean, I'm just amazed at that one. So I've got to ask you, finally, do you have the public on your side? And I guess we lost that live shot, but I want to thank Karen Lewis for joining us tonight. Thanks so much. As you can see, that this just isn't about a certain group of people. And these teachers here in Chicago have been fighting with Rahm Emanuel and trying to keep what they've got for a long time. And this protest has been in the works for some time. It just coincides a great deal with the Occupy Wall Street group. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen and share your thoughts on Twitter at Ed Show. I want to know what you think. Major breaking news out of the great state of Wisconsin tonight. You won't want to miss it. We'll have it exclusively. Rick Perry is using the Ed Show to attack Mitt Romney, and Herman Cain thinks racism in America is over. This is the Ed Show, live from Chicago. Stay with us.